It's Red Eye Radio. Talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, for Gary McNamara and Eric Harley, Chris Krok, this is Red Eye Radio.
Across America, it's Red Eye Radio. I'm Chris Krok in for Eric and Gary McNamara, Eric Harley. And they will be back next Monday morning, and we'll have Best Of on the 4th, Dan Mandis on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday mornings. So here we are, and the Supreme Court did some major decisions on Friday, and they were very, very good. But the left is apoplectic on two fronts. One, on the ability for gay couples to try to, or gay person to try to force a business to compel their speech and make them produce something that is against their faith. A separate decision, we'll get to that one first, a separate decision that says, no, Joe, you cannot dole out $430 million of money that Congress must approve without Congress. You tried it legitimately when you said you couldn't do it in 2021 on the campaign. At a CNN town hall, you were right. Nancy Pelosi said it, and you guys were right. And sure enough, you still try to do it, Joe, because when Congress said heck no and voted it down, when you try to put it through the way you knew you should, and you just try to do an end around, and we said no. No. So two wonderful Supreme Court decisions, and then a third one the day before on affirmative action. That one is breathtaking to me when you look at the numbers of Asian Americans that have been actively discriminated against. What's interesting is Thursday, Supreme Court Justice Sonia Sotomayor, a Obama appointee. Don't you love that? Supreme Court Justice Sonia Sotomayor. You get the accent. Un accento in there, right? She says on Thursday, she said that to discriminate against Asians is okay. So Thursday, it's okay to discriminate. Friday, it is not okay to discriminate. So, on one day you can discriminate against Asian people. On another day, you cannot, quote unquote, discriminate against same-sex folks, couples. So you got to love it. Certain people are okay to discriminate in America. It's just the ones that she and her acolytes say are okay to discriminate against. Don't you love that? Yes, beautiful. All right, let's start with the same-sex marriage stuff. A woman who is a Christian, she appears to be what I call an authentic Christian. She holds true to biblical beliefs. She says, I am not going to do a website for a gay couple that would celebrate their marriage. She was approached by a same-sex couple to make a website for their upcoming wedding, and she says, I'm sorry, no. The most interesting thing the left chooses to ignore is that she works with gay people. If a gay person comes to her and asks her to design a website for their career, hey, I want to have a website for my own personal resume, my career. That doesn't matter. She of course does that. If they want to have a website for their business, hey, I got a camera store I'm opening up. Can you help me launch my website? No problem. You could be gay. She could help you. She does help you. She doesn't care about that. She's not denying services to gay people. The left lies. And if they're so right, why do they have to lie to you and to me? The left lies, and the left tells you that she is denying serving gay people. She will not serve gay people. This is a civil rights issue. You can't say no to gay people. And now the Supreme Court has said you can. You can refuse to serve people based on their sexual preferences. Well, that's a lie. That is absolutely a lie. And the most interesting thing, you know that even CBS News spread this lie. They and others were claiming the case allows for mass discriminations against gays and lesbians. I saw on Friday night on CNN's screen there, what do you call it, the graphic at the bottom of the screen, it said that, like the Supreme Court is denying serving, says it's okay to deny serving gay people, rolling back gay people's rights kind of a thing. No, it's not. It is not. And what should scare the living crap out of you is what this is about. It's about our government compelling our speech. Do you want our government telling you what you can and can't say? Do you want our government telling you to say things you don't want to say? Do you want our government forcing you to hold beliefs and to say them publicly that you don't believe in? Is that what you want our government to do? Because if you do, then you better watch out, because maybe it's something that you are against, and maybe you're a liberal Democrat. Maybe if the next person comes into office, if Orange Man comes back, no. If Orange Man comes back, he could force you to say something you don't like. And if you won't do it, or he could force you to do or say something you don't like, and if you don't do it, you could be fined or put out of business. Is that what you want? In fact, one of the cases in case law that this harkens back to is a World War era case. And in that case, students were being forced who did not want to salute to the Pledge of Allegiance of the United States of America. If they didn't want to salute, they were being forced to. That's what this is. Being forced to do something the government demands you do. And the last time I can think of that I saw something like this was when Adolf Hitler was forcing people to do something like, Heil Hitler. So are you really sure you want to be in a position like this, where the government forces you to say things you don't believe in and do things you do not believe in? Do you really want our country to go that way? I hope not. 866-90-RED-EYE is our number. That's 866-907-3339. 866-907-3339. So that's what this is all about. Now, there's a case that Sonia Sotomayor said she used in her dissent. She literally either lied or is grossly ignorant. Either way, she provided a piece of information in her dissent that is false. False. And it involves the Pulse nightclub. She was playing games. She was bringing up stuff about the Pulse nightclub and saying that this is exactly the kind of stuff good that's going to happen because of this. You have to hear what really happened in the Pulse nightclub that you do not know. I got to tell you, I would guess 60 or 70 or 80, probably 80 or 90% of Americans don't even know this. So she played that game. I'll tell you about that coming up in the next segment on Red Eye Radio. But this is amazing because you have several people. Oh, gosh, did you see Mayor Pete? Mayor Pete came out and said, oh, this lady never even was had a case. Nobody was asking her to do anything. She just made this stuff up. Where is Mayor? There he is.
I think what's really revealing is that there's no evidence that this web designer was ever even approached by a same-sex couple looking for services to support their wedding. So you're seeing more and more of these cases and these circumstances that are designed to get people spun up and designed to chip away at rights. And I think the bigger picture here, when you look at the Supreme Court taking away a woman's right to choose, you look at Friday's decision diminishing the equality of same-sex couples, you look at a number of the decisions that have been made, they pose a question that is even deeper than these big cases. And the question is this: did we just live to see the high water mark of freedoms and rights in this country before they were gradually taken away? Because up until now, not uniformly, but overall, each generation was able to say that it enjoyed greater inclusion, greater equality, and...
Okay, enough of that. So Mayor Pete said this was relief from a situation that may have never happened in the first place. It tells you everything you need to know about this agenda. It may have never happened in the first place. Well, in fact, the woman was approached by a same-sex couple to make a website for their upcoming wedding. And you're right, Mayor Pete, it never happened because she said, I'm a Christian. I am not going to promote a same-sex wedding through my work. As an artist, I'm not going to create something that glorifies something that I believe, and my God, not that I believe, but my God tells me is a sin. She doesn't hate gay people, just like she doesn't hate somebody who cheats on their wife or divorces their wife for no reason that's biblical. And guess what? He lies and he says this isn't even happening, something that may or may not happen. He's lying. Or he's grossly ignorant. Take your pick. With Pete, he's probably just grossly ignorant. Ready? How many other cases are there? Well, Jack Phillips is the owner of Masterpiece Cake Shop. He's in Denver. He's literally been forced by the state of Colorado to shut your business down or make a cake for gay people. He is inundated with gay people, trans people who do nothing but continue to harass him and try to make him make things for them. It's not just Colorado that is seeking to force an individual to utter what is not in her mind about a question of political and religious significance. That's Neil Gorsuch writing about this woman in the website case where she won. At least 3 wedding photographers right now are being forced or will be shut down or even incarcerated in New York, in Louisville, and Virginia, across America. They are right now in federal court fighting to not be forced to go against their God and their conscience. Laws that would force them to shoot same-sex weddings against their beliefs. And they are threatened, as the Wall Street Journal editorial board says, with crippling fines and, in the New York case, incarceration. The New York and Virginia cases have been on hold pending outcomes of this case. And Mayor Pete tells us there's no cases. This is a joke. Really, Mayor Pete, if that's true, will you swap with this guy and go to jail and tell me you're not in jail? There's a man who's about to be put in jail for this. And Mayor Pete says it's not happening. There's 3 cases across America right now, and Mayor Pete lies, and 4 when you include Oregon, and 5 when you include a Washington State baker. You have Aaron and Melissa Klein are in Oregon. They face fines for refusing to bake a same-sex wedding cake. This is insane. Our freaking transportation secretary, who can't let planes fly, doesn't know how to let the FAA actually do its job, or doesn't have enough people in the FAA, is telling us that these people who are being threatened with jail and their businesses are being closed down in like 5 states across America, that it's not happening. This is Orwellian. Yeah, you're not in jail right now. No. You're doing fine. Holy gosh, right? 866-90-RED-EYE is our number, 866-907-3339. It is, of course, Chris Krok in for Gary McNamara and Eric Harley on Red Eye Radio across America. Corey, let's talk to you in Dallas. You're on Red Eye Radio. Hi, Corey.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Can you hear me? All right. Hey, real quick, the whole deal behind the whole Asian deal, what she was talking about, is that a lot of people, this is going to sound crazy, but it's the truth. A lot of Asians that come over here and a lot of immigrants know what I'm talking about in local banks where they're giving them, when they legally come over here, in local banks and everything, they give them financial opportunities that are not given to American citizens. And also with
well, wait a minute. The Supreme Court case where Asian Americans were being discriminated against was in Harvard, for example. That's where the case stemmed from, in UNC Chapel Hill. And that case, where that case stemmed from, is in Harvard. Statistics show that you were, as if you're an Asian with insane scores, you literally had a it was 90. It was, if you were qualified to the hilt, you had a 20%, 25% chance of getting admitted. And if you were black, you had a 96% chance of getting admitted. So that is active discrimination. Hold on. That's active discrimination against somebody based on their race. This is not about banking at all. It's not part of that case at all. So when you talk about the Supreme Court case, hold on one second, sir. When you talk about the Supreme Court case and race, it had nothing to do with banking. So please don't bring up something that has nothing to do with that case.
I'm trying to make my point. The point is what I'm saying.
Your point is about banking. Your point is about banking, and the Supreme Court ruled about racial preference in college admissions.
Right. I'll start from the education end. On the education end, is the Asians haven't had the same level of discrimination against them that black people have had.
Yes, they do. Yes, they have.
Hold on. Let me say what I'm saying. They haven't had 400 years of slavery and a legacy in this country where black people have actually earned those rights. Civil rights were created in this country and fought for by the black community. That's the truth.
Well, you know,
was marching.
We have a black president, Mr. Former President Barack Hussein Obama, and so I don't know how that affects an Asian person having a stellar score being refused because he's an Asian. Are you saying discrimination against people because of their race is okay? That keeping somebody out because they have yellow skin is good?
No, I'm not saying
crushing the dreams of somebody who is qualified and belongs is good.
That happened to black people for the last 600 years.
Well, that's not happening right now. Well, so what are you talking about? Mr. Hussein Obama did great, like 30 years ago. What are you talking about? This is not going. Why are you living 400 years ago? What is this? What's wrong with you? Why do you have to live from 400 years ago? Why
y'all don't tell the Jews that when they bring up the
Jews
when they bring up the Holocaust.
What are you talking about?
Tell the Jews that when they bring.
All right. Do you know what the statistics are on Asian violence? You said you really what really is offensive to me also is you completely ignore the violence and the hate that Asians are being greeted with and attacked with. Do you know how bad it is for them?
It's worse for black people.
Oh my! How dare you? How dare you say that? I mean, honestly, how many incidents of racism against Asian Americans this past year? Let me ask you that. What do you think? How many?
Okay, how many incidents of racism against black people? It's been documented.
Okay, look at that. You need some counseling because you have a real chip on your shoulder, and you have a real issue. Do you know who the number one violent offender against Asian Americans, violent offender of beating them and attacking them is?
Who?
According to the FBI.
I'm going to tell you why.
It is. Yeah, I got to go, brother. I'll tell you the statistics on that coming up next. Thank you for your call, Corey. I appreciate you very much. Chris Krok, Across America on Red Eye Radio.
For your calls, 866-90-RED-EYE on Red Eye Radio.
Denny's is here to serve America's professional truck drivers, providing a hot, down-home meal on the go. Order ahead at dennys.com today. Hours and participating restaurants may vary.
Across America, Red Eye Radio. Chris Krok in for Gary McNamara, Eric Harley. The number one violent offender against Asian Americans is African Americans by about, I think, 3% to 4%. That is number one. And the number two is actually tied, Asian on Asian and white on Asian. So there is a serious problem in the community, African-American community, with attacks on Asians. It is what it is, man. All right, up next, we have so much more on the Supreme Court decision on student loans, on forcing businesses to do something against their religious beliefs. All that next. Across America, Red Eye Radio. I'm Chris Krok for Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. Across America, it's Red Eye Radio. I'm Chris Krok in for Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. They're back on Sunday night. Tomorrow, Best of on the 4th. Dan Mandis on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday mornings. Again, Eric and Gary back on Sunday morning. It's Chris Krok for you here. Meantime, our number, 866-90-RED-EYE, 866-907-3339. I started out focusing on the Supreme Court case in saying you cannot force somebody who has, for example, a Christian, to create something that they do not want to create. You cannot force them to create, in this case, a website celebrating an upcoming gay marriage. You cannot force a business, a photographer, to take pictures to do a job for a gay wedding if it's against their faith, their conscience. All this is, funny thing, all this is, it is not a case on faith or religion. Did you know that? It is simply a case on speech. The government cannot compel or force speech. And I played just some audio earlier this hour of Mayor Pete, who's doing a horrific job, absolute horrific job, of the air traffic control. The head of, I think it was United Airlines, literally blamed, this past week, blamed Pete Buttigieg and the FAA, which is him. And did you know the real reason for the problem, the disaster in New York, particularly in Newark and in the two airports in Manhattan, JFK and LaGuardia? Do you know the reason they are a disaster is because they are unionized? Many of them are not. Those three, including, on the New Jersey side, they're all unionized. And what that means is when we need them, when we need certain people to go to certain, hey, you're going to be moved, you're going to another state, no. Their union says, no, you can't force us. And so what does that do? It blows the whole system up. And Mayor Pete should be standing up to those unions, and he should be fixing the system. And instead, he's talking about we need to force photographers, wedding cake makers, and this website makers to make products that are against their conscience, that they don't want to do. We need to compel speech. And one day, if we ever want to say something like, force them to say, like in Nazi Germany, Heil Hitler, we should be able to force them to do that. And this person in New York who's got a business, they're trying to make him forced to do work his business and to support something with gay marriage, he will be thrown in jail. And the same thing's going on for fines in other states like Lexington, Kentucky, Oregon, Washington State. And, of course, where this case is, I think it's in Denver, but it's in Colorado. What's the point? The point is Mayor Pete literally lied and said, oh, he is, or at least is so clueless, which is classic him. Couldn't even fix a pothole problem in his city of South Bend that's got 100,000 people in it. Never did it. Never fixed it. Couldn't even do that. Here he is to tell us that none of these people that are being threatened with jail and shutting their businesses down or have had their businesses shut down have been harassed. It's not real. Meantime, the affirmative action decision, we had a caller in the last segment, and I feel sorry for him. He honestly needs counseling. He is clinging to 400 years ago. He did not grow up in that situation. Justice Clarence Thomas grew up in much closer of a situation. He experienced and lived the segregated South. And today, he rules against affirmative action. Our previous caller was literally saying, it was another wonderful decision by the Supreme Court, was literally saying, yes, Chris, it is okay to discriminate against Asian Americans who are stellar with their work. Forget them. Forget them. And he wants to say, well, 400 years of slavery. What are you talking about? Mr. Hussein Obama became our president like a long time ago, like 2008. Yeah, for 8 years. Oh, we're victims. We're victims. Oh, we're all victims. Oh, rah, 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 rah. You need some counseling and you need God. That's what you need. Because you have insecurities, You have disdain. I don't know if you have hatred, but dude, what the heck? If you walking around thinking you're a victim, you will be a victim. You need to decide, sir, victim or victor. You make your own destiny, not something from 400 years ago. And I feel sorry for you. I do. Because if you had God, you would go to him. And if you would have some good counseling, you would be okay inside, much better. So that's what I think his problem is. And to actively discriminate against Asian Americans is not good for anybody. Because whoever's in favor, whoever's out of favor, to say that's okay to discriminate against that person, it's very sad. And he kept wanting to talk about African Americans being victims of stuff. Well, I don't doubt that that's happening, and I don't diminish that it happens. But I'm going to tell you something else too. The Asian American community is insanely victimized and attacked in violence. As I mentioned, the number one violent offender against Asian Americans, according to the FBI, in their crime reporting, is Asian Americans against African Americans are the number one offender. And by about, I think it's 2.5% less is the next group. The second and third most violent offenders against Asian Americans are Asian on Asian, is tied with white on Asian. So there is an issue. And to deny that is to deny the FBI's facts. So take it or leave it, it's up to you. And then there's this student loan program, which we'll get into a little bit more heavier. But Joe Biden knows and knew he could not constitutionally give away $430 billion of our money, and how dare he. But yet he did it anyway. He knew it could, and he said he couldn't do it. Nancy Pelosi said she couldn't do it. And yet he still did it. You know why he did it? He did it right before the midterms, knowing it would get slapped down. But he did it to get Democrats elected, and now he's doing it again to have an issue to say, look at you, you're victims, you need me. And he's doing a new program, which we'll get to a little bit later, which is going to be ruled unconstitutional too. It literally is even more expensive of forgiving debt, all this crap. Not forgiving it, giving our money to people who have degrees. No, and heck no, to say it nicely. 866-90-RED-EYE is our number. That's 866-907-3339. I'll say that again. 866-907-3339 across America. Red Eye Radio. Chris Krok and for Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. So let's go to Charlie in Oxford. You're on Red Eye Radio. Hi, Charlie.
Hi, I want to tell you have a great show, and I got to tell you I agree with everything you've been saying in the show today. I'm a conservative who believes strongly that America needs to return to some of these beliefs that we were throwing out so that we can be strong again. I guess I disagree, though, with the web designer argument with the Supreme Court for a simple reason. Okay. And I believe strongly in the First Amendment. I believe that no one should compel speech or beliefs or anything like that. Mm-hmm. I do think, however, if you're going to start a business, you end up with you can't discriminate. And as a conservative, we should be very strong on not discriminating, especially in the business place. And my example would be this. I'm a physician. Let's say I'm a physician that doesn't believe in birth control. And I might be the only physician in a town, taking care of people in a town. And there's some young people that want to get a hold of birth control. But I say, my religious beliefs prevent me from giving you what is an acceptable medical therapy that's out there. So I guess my point would be my practicing my art. If I'm going to take money for it, I got to be able to give it to anyone who comes to me for the services and not discriminate against them, because the converse is then we end up using we can allow biases and to enter into our decision making and discriminate, and that's not good for anybody, especially in the business.
That's not a bias. That's a faith. That's a religious belief. So
Well,
you're
I
saying,
mean,
well, one second, sir. So you're saying if I'm a doctor and there's nobody in a small town in Mississippi, for example, and I'm the only doctor in town, that I should be forced to do something, for example, if I'm Catholic, that I should be forced to do something that my church says is a sin.
But then don't be the doctor.
Okay, so here, how about this? This is
that's my
amazing.
point.
So my livelihood should go away if you want, because I won't do something that my God, if I'm a Catholic, for example, he believes his God is a sin. So you would force that man to do something. Let me ask you this: what if he says, "I will not be forced to do this. I'm going to move somewhere else where there are so many doctors. This won't be an issue." Would that be okay?
I think that, and I know a friend.
Just yes or no.
Yes or no. Yes.
So so this is amazing, Charlie. Your first motto, or your motto, whatever, as a doctor, your oath, whatever, is to do no harm first. So
harm.
Okay, so check it out. If you're going to force this guy to leave, then there'll be no doctor there, which harms everybody. You're okay with that?
I know. I'm not. I'm for him not to do no harm, and to allow unwanted pregnancies. So I would have him.
Right, you would force him.
Prescribed.
You would force him to do it against his faith. So his God is wrong, and you're right. You're his God. You overrule his God, and you're okay with that.
I am not. I'm not overruling his God.
Yes, you are his God.
If he's gonna hold himself out as a professional, and if he's gonna say that I'm going to practice this art, it includes things like prescribing birth control if you're the only one in town.
Hey, so you'd rather, as a doctor, you literally rather see the whole area, the whole town suffer and have no one?
No, I would rather have him.
No. You've said it clearly. Leave.
Wrong with him. There is
Leave.
nothing wrong
Move.
with him. There is nothing wrong with him saying, I don't believe in birth control. There is nothing wrong with him counseling.
No, but you want to force him if he's there.
To give his free speech.
But he will be forced to.
But he has to.
Right.
He does not.
Okay.
He should not promote poor health.
What if he? Well, he's promoting poor health by leaving. You force him out. He leaves. He moves. He's promoting poor health by screwing everybody out of health care. Then you're okay with that. You said that. So you'd rather screw everybody out of health care, which does harm to the whole community, so that you don't have anybody offended.
But you have two very hard situations.
Right. But you want to see the whole community hurt.
The least harm would be for him to prescribe the birth control.
No. You've already said you're okay with him leaving. And look, if he's an authentic Catholic, he's going to leave.
He's free to leave.
And
anyone is free to leave.
But as a physician, you're literally clearly saying, excuse me, sir, as a physician, you're clearly saying, screw the whole community and let him move. That'll hurt them all. And as a doctor, you're comfortable with that. You want to just let that happen. Now, listen, what happens if he stays and keeps serving? Would you put him in jail?
I would take away his license for not doing the appropriate thing.
And would he lose his license for good?
For good? Well, I mean, again, you have to.
Well, no, tell me. You want to do this. You want to do this. Walk me through this. You take away his license. Bad you. Now, is he allowed to move and get his license back, or is he done? Like, canceled. Dun, dun, dun.
As opposed to, say, discriminating.
Just answer the question. What would you do to him?
Fine too.
This is I got to roll. No, I'm not. I got to roll, buddy. Thank you for your call. Listen, that's amazing. He wants to destroy your career if you don't bow to his God. He is God, actually. All right, isn't this amazing? We've got several lines open for you across America. Chris Krok in for Gary McNamara, Eric Harley on Red Eye Radio, 86690, Red Eye 866-907-3339. I'm going to tell you what Sonia Sotomayor said in her ruling on this decision that was either a lie or she's so ignorant it's embarrassing. Next.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90-RED-EYE.
Sonia Sotomayor, in her dissent of the Supreme Court decision striking down the, forcing people that own businesses to do things that are against their faith, or forcing speech is what it was. Sonia Sotomayor said in her dissent, falsely, she claimed the Pulse nightclub shooting was a result of anti-gay discrimination. It was not true at all. 5.5-page spread in 2018 by the liberal HuffPost. His wife, they never scoped out the Pulse nightclub. Their cell phones never pinged the Pulse nightclub. He was targeting the Disney Springs shopping center. 1 hour before the shooting, he Googled downtown nightclub Orlando. Not gay, not LGBT. He never did. As a radical Islamist, he obviously was not for gay marriage or gay stuff. He never targeted him. That is what we found out. Plus, his wife, he abused her, he beat her, he raped her. His previous wife, same thing. There's more to it, but Chris Krok on Red Eye Radio across America, in for Eric and Gary.
Top of the Hour News is brought to you by House Products.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, for Gary McNamara and Eric Harley, Chris Krok, this is Red Eye Radio.
Across America, it's Red Eye Radio. I'm Chris Krok in for Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. 866-90-RED-EYE is our number. That's 866-907-3339. Okay. Great stuff we're talking about tonight. First of all, the wonderful landmark decisions on Friday morning of the Supreme Court saying you cannot force somebody, the government cannot compel us to say or do something that we do not want to do. It actually had nothing to do with faith. Nothing to do with religion, and faith is not even mentioned in this decision. It is about compelled speech. Just as Hitler tried to get folks to, or force people to do Heil Hitler in America back in the World War II era, they tried to force American school kids to salute the flag that didn't want to, and the Supreme Court said, you can't do that. Just like that, we are not Nazi Germany. We should not be forced our businesses to close. We should not be forced or be put in jail. And Pete Buttigieg lied through his floss teeth. I hope he flosses his teeth when he said, or he's just grandly ignorant. Take your pick. I believe it could be either or, and I don't think he cares. He's like, well, I'm Mayor Pete, dude. I birthed 2 babies. Mayor Pete does have the he's got the most chapped nipples this side of the Mississippi. And I'm taking notes. I'm expecting triplets in the near future. I am. I'm giving birth this time, not my wife. I'm giving her a break this time. And I'm watching his breastfeeding videos to get my breastises up to shape, just so you know. But because men can get pregnant. We all know that. Come on. But the Supreme Court says you cannot force people to do things, compel people to do things they don't want to do. We had an amazing call about a doctor who said, look, man, I'm all for it except for doctors. If a doctor doesn't want to prescribe abortion prophylactics, if you will, medication, prescriptions for prophylactics, if you will, birth control, then he shouldn't be able to practice. I'm like, what? It was insane. He literally was saying if you're the only doctor in town, which is very rare, obviously, but if you're the only doctor in town, you should be forced to prescribe birth control. I'm like, are you kidding me? I said, what if the doctor wants to move? Is that okay? And he said, yes. I said, okay, so the doctor could move and you have no doctors in that town, and that's okay with you? Yes. So he'd rather have no doctors for anyone. No doctors for you. You will get no doctors for you. No doctor for you. Absolutely correct. Right? Yes.
You'll get nothing like it.
That's it. No doctor for you. Or he says I would take away their license. You can't practice medicine. Holy gosh, that was mind-blowing. We had another thing about another Supreme Court decision, the affirmative action decision, which was absolutely wonderful, saying that you cannot discriminate against our Asian friends. When you look at the Harvard case, it's very sad and stunning and shocking that an Asian American with unbelievable grades, a 1590 SAT score, and perfect grades, rejected by 6 elite colleges. And if you have these incredible grades and SAT score, you have a 20% chance of being admitted into Harvard. But if you are an African American, he had 1590 out of 1600. Oh my flipping gosh! 1590 out of 1600. How dare you get that one question wrong about quantum physics? What is wrong with you? My son, our teenagers have the funniest memes, right? And this whole. So I remember he and my daughter, like there's a for years there's been one they've shown me. It's about Asian parents. It says Asian, A- equals A- my love. It's an Asian dad. If you get an A-, that's A- my love. It's the funniest one in the world. Anyway, but he had a 20% chance of getting in with 1590 SAT out of 1600, and he had a 4.65 high school GPA, and he could not get in. 20% chance, and African Americans with the same scores would have a 95% chance getting in. Isn't that breathtaking and sad? And you know what? People are mad saying you can't have this many Asian Americans being able to get into Harvard. And you know what I said is maybe it needs to be. Maybe not needs to be. Nothing needs to be. Maybe it will be predominantly Asian at Harvard. Look, I'm not here to. In America, we don't do formulas. Well, you'll get this, Jimmy. You'll get that, Johnny. Sally, you'll get nothing. Sally, you will get nothing and like it.
You'll get nothing and like it.
There you go. Go sit in the corner. You wear the dunce cap. But what? But why? ABC News just did a poll. A little more than half of all Americans, 52%, approve of the U.S. Supreme Court decision restricting the use of race as a factor in college admissions, while 32% disapprove, so 52 to 32, and 16% have their head up their rump and don't know. They don't know anything. Oh, no. Great. You go take a hike. Go take a you-know-what in the lake. Take care, buddy. Oh, there's a crazy quotation I got to tell you about. There is a crazy quotation I will play you of a congressman in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. This is unbelievable. Listen to this guy. This is Mark Veazey, congressman in the Dallas-Fort Worth area.
Schools are still going to use things like race when it comes to consideration in sports. For whatever reason, and again, we don't have time to unpack it on your show, people feel much more comfortable with the idea that you can give Black students, many of whom have much lower GPAs, much lower test scores, that they can come to a school and entertain you and jump for you and throw the ball for you and run the ball for you and shoot it for you. But for some reason, people get angry, including these 6 Supreme Court justices. Someone gets angry if a kid has a 3.8 GPA and a 1300 on his SAT, and he can't run and shoot and kick the ball for you.
What the heck? This is like a disease this guy has. He's an African American congressman in North Texas. What the heck is this guy talking about? He's got like a disease or something. Like what's wrong with your mind, dude? What are you talking about? Nobody gets mad. What is this? He thinks that's an insulting and a sad way to look at things. I don't look at it that way. And look, I literally could care less about sports. That's just, I don't care. So who's he talking about? They. He ain't talking about me. I think he is the one with the problem. I think he is the one with a chip on his shoulder, and he is the one that wants to play victim and victim card. Dude, you're a congressman. Most of us will never get that. Former President Barack Hussein Obama was the president 2-term. I mean, dude, what are you talking about? People are victims. Get out of here. Nobody, you can live in the past, but that's sad. It's very sad. Now, I wanted to mention one more thing that is important. I hit on it a little bit in the last hour. Another Supreme Court decision that was fantastic that happened was I had already mentioned this one. The other one was the student loan debt one, and we're going to hit that a little later in the hour. But one of the ones I mentioned earlier was you can't force businesses to do something against their conscience, or people to do something against their conscience. The government cannot compel people, cannot compel speech. I don't ever want to live in a country like that, like Hitler had it. You walk by anybody with the Nazi Germany party, and if you didn't do Heil Hitler, you would be, killed, jailed, or thrown in a concentration camp? But Sonia Sotomayor, in her dissent, falsely claimed that the Pulse nightclub shooting was a result of anti-gay discrimination. It was not. It was not. I need an extra minute to share this with you. It's shocking. Liberal HuffPost did a 5.5-page story in 2018 chronicling this. He never targeted the Pulse nightclub because it was a gay club. In fact, he was never going to shoot it up. He had no idea he was going to shoot up until 1 hour before. You know why? He was targeting the Disney Springs shopping center. That was where he scoped it out. They have pings on his cell phone of there. His wife was put in and interrogated for 11 hours by the FBI. The FBI got her and bullied her to say stuff like, oh, yeah, we scoped out the Pulse nightclub. Oh, yeah, ha, ha, ha. The FBI already knew it within days. Her cell phone never pinged at the Pulse nightclub. She'd never gone there. Her husband, the terrorist, never went there. Nothing was ever searched on his computers or laptops. Nothing was ever searched on his phone about gay or LGBTQ or nightclub. 1 hour before the shooting, before he shot up and killed those people at the Pulse nightclub, the horrific terrorism attack, he Googled downtown Orlando nightclub. That's all he Googled. He didn't say anything about gay or LGBTQ. And when he got there, before he shot up and killed those folks in that horrific act of terrorism and horror, he went up to the bouncer and asked, where are all the girls? He had no idea it was a gay club. He was just going to shoot up a nightclub for radical Islam. That's it. And in his demands of the when he was negotiating, he said, you have to tell America to stop bombing Syria and Iraq. They are killing a lot of innocent people. He told a crisis negotiator over the phone while at Pulse, what am I to do in here when my people are getting killed over there? You get what I'm saying? Nothing about LGBTQ. Nothing. And the judge was so disgusted in this case, in the court hearing, that he said, wait, what? And he said, you misled me. You knew within days, he said to the FBI agent on the stand. Yes, the agent responded. Did you tell anyone? Yes, the agent said. Whom did you tell? My superiors, the agent said. Later, after excusing the jury, the HuffPost writes, he had asked prosecutors to explain themselves. Why had they misled him when they asked him to deny him bail, the terrorist bail? I'm very concerned by that. He took it personally, said HuffPost author. His decision on Salman's bail, the terrorist, in part was on faulty information. Oh, that was the terrorist's wife. His decision on her bail, he refused to let her go. She was jailed for 14 months, didn't get to see her kid. Her grandma died, didn't get to bury her. Nothing. She was abused and raped and beaten for years. That's why she was still covering for her husband and lied to the FBI, because they bullied her and she was still covering for him as an abused wife. His first wife said the same thing. He beat the crap out of me. He abused me, terrorized me, and raped me. So you raped this with the FBI and the Justice Department, raped that woman again. Raped her again and lied about her in that trial. She was acquitted, never did anything wrong other than be raped and brutalized. And there was the FBI to lie to us. And there was the mainstream media to lie to us. And there was Sonia Sotomayor on Friday morning to insert her dissent about that crap, which is a lie, or she's grossly ignorant. Isn't that amazing? All right. We have one line open. 866-90-RED-EYE is our number. 866-907-3339. 866-907-3339. It's Chris Krok in for Eric and Gary. Let's go to Doug in Altoona, Pennsylvania. Hi, Doug. You're on Red Eye Radio.
Hey.
Hey.
How are you this evening?
Good. How are you?
Doing great. I'm so glad you brought up the Nazi Germany thing because, respectfully, I will say to that doctor, you may be conservative in some areas, but in this specific area, you're a fascist. And here's my point. Let's say I lived 250 years ago, and I'm the only blacksmith in a small southern town, and I'm vehemently Christian, and I'm vehemently anti-slavery. The fact is that a slave owner comes into my blacksmith shop and asks me to put shackles on his slaves, and I deny. You're going to tell me that the government has the right to take away my livelihood because I will not do something that is extremely against my conscience? See, the logical fallacy this doctor made is that just because something is legal, that means it's okay. Well, that was the defense the Nazis used at the Nuremberg trials. They all said that societally it was approved of what they did to the Jews, and that was their defense. But it was soundly rejected. Thank goodness it was. And this should be soundly rejected as well.
You know, Doug, sometimes callers say things a lot better than I can, and you're one of them, and that was absolutely wonderful. Thank you for your call. I appreciate you very much, Doug. We have a line open here at 866-90-RED-EYE, 866-907-3339, and I want to get into also the Supreme Court decision on student loan forgiveness as well, but we're continuing on all that. Coming up next, it's Chris Krok in for Eric and Gary on Red Eye Radio.
Smart owner-operators make every single week as profitable as possible. One trip is not enough time to be considered profitable or unprofitable, and an entire month may be too much time to manage. 1 week is the right amount of time to deal with efficiently. To do so, look at the advantages and disadvantages of every day of the week. Match trip length to the optimum day of the week. Plan to deliver on the day you have the best opportunity of getting a load. Your personal weekly plan will vary depending on the weekly delivery flow cycle of your region, typical length of haul, personal requirements, and other factors. What's important is to have a specific weekly plan that helps you be successful. Owner-Operator Business 101 is provided by Shell Rotella with advanced synthetic technology. For more information, go to overdriveonline.com to the Overdrive's Partners in Business section of the website for more detail on Business 101 and many other topics.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90-RED-EYE on Red Eye Radio.
Across America, it's Red Eye Radio. I'm Chris Krok in for Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. 866-90-RED-EYE is our number. Talking about the Supreme Court's decisions on Red Eye Radio. Let's go to, let's see here. Let's go to Bob in Virginia. You're on Red Eye Radio. Hi, Bob.
Hey, good morning. How you doing?
Good, brother. How are things in sweet Virginia?
Yeah, sitting down here on the boat. Been listening to your radio station. Back the first time I've had a chance to listen to it because I got up and couldn't go back to sleep and opened up a bag of potato chips.
Good morning, sunshine.
Yeah, man.
Or good night, yes.
Look, I was listening to you and only, this thing about the nightclub shooting, I understand where you're coming from on some of the points you're making, but there was people killed there, not gay, not this or that, just people. I think,
right. I agree.
You're kind of emphasizing that the guy didn't make a statement that the people was gay, it didn't matter to him who he shot up. Well, nobody really knows that. I don't think,
Yes, they do. They do know that. And no, sir. The reason why I even mentioned that is because Sonia Sotomayor put that in her dissent, mentioning the Pulse nightclub shooting. I wouldn't have even talked about it. She falsely claimed that it was an anti-gay discrimination. She put that in the whole decision about forcing businesses to do something that compels speech that they don't want to do. In this case, a website designer forced the government tried to force her to make a website that would celebrate same-sex marriage. So when Sonia Sotomayor falsely said the Pulse nightclub shooting and was using that about gay stuff, it's totally not true. That's the only reason I mentioned it. So you don't want me to you don't want me to correct her when she's falsely claiming stuff that in her dissent of a decision.
No, I do,
Okay.
And I didn't hear that part.
Okay, let me pause you, buddy. This is Chris Krok, Across America. It's Red Eye Radio. I'm Chris Krok for Gary and Eric.
Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios. 1-866-907-3339. 866-90-RED-EYE. Now, for Gary McNamara and Eric Harley, Chris Krok.
All right, regarding Chris Krok Across America, Red Eye Radio, in for Gary McNamara and Eric Harley, of course. Next Sunday night, they'll be back. Best of tomorrow, 4th of July, of course. Dan Mandis, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday mornings, and Eric and Gary back on Sunday night, next Sunday night. Regarding our last caller, everything's cool. He just didn't hear the part where I was talking about Sonia Sotomayor in the decision where the Supreme Court said you cannot compel speech. The government cannot force us to say or think or do things. It's unbelievable. Regarding this happened to be a gay couple that wanted her to create a website that would celebrate their upcoming wedding, and she's like, as an authentic Christian, I can't do that. So of course they will force her and make her the state of Colorado. And it's going on all over the country: Lexington, Kentucky, New York State, Oregon, one other case in Colorado, and the Supreme Court said you cannot force compelled speech, just like you can't force the government can't force you. If Hitler were to come back and force us to do things, make us do Heil Hitler, you can't do that. Or in World War II, the government tried to make people salute the flag, and they didn't want to, and the Supreme Court said you can't make them do that. So why in God's name would it be okay to make people do this if that's not okay? You cannot compel speech. Funny thing, it wasn't even about religion or faith in any way. It was just about speech. And Pete Buttigieg made up a BS thing. Oh, there was really no case. There was no case. He just was going there. Dude, what? You have to show harm. You can't just, nobody's coming after me, but I'm going to just sue somebody. What? Poor Mayor Pete, poor guy. But I am taking notes on his pregnancy and delivery of his twins. I am expecting triplets soon. I got the trips coming. And he's got some great breastfeeding vlogs to help us with us men with our chapped nipples. And it's just a beautiful journey with Mayor Pete and his breastfeeding. So I'm practicing for that for the trips coming. Because, my gosh, these breastises are going to be very chapped like Mayor Pete's. But even worse, I'll be doing my own vlog. I'll let you know. In the meantime, Supreme Court also striking down Biden's student loan forgiveness plan. Yeah, it's called taking money from us and giving it to people who have a degree. Unbelievable. Joe Biden said at a 2021 CNN town hall that he could not do it. He could not give away somebody else's money. He said, quote, in 2020, he said he would pursue legislation to erase $10,000 in student debt. Once in office, however, as the Wall Street Journal says, he confronted gridlock in Congress, and he couldn't do it. So then he waited until the midterms and then falsely claimed that he would just give everybody free money. Free. And, of course, he knew the Supreme Court would strike it down, but then he can say it again. Grrr, Supreme Court, they're not legitimate. Grrr. And so now he's going to try to give away even more of our money. He is going to try to cap the monthly payments at 5% of discretionary income and discharge unpaid debt after 20 years. And if you make less than $32,800, you wouldn't have to pay a penny. Average borrower would save more than $1,000 a year, or $20,000 over 20 years. Penn Wharton says this would cost even more than Biden's unconstitutional giveaway. Biden's unconstitutional giveaway that the Supreme Court just ruled against was $430 billion. This new one is $471 billion, and somehow he thinks he can give away our money again, even more. And then when the Supreme Court again says you can't do this, he'll say, Supreme Court, this is why you need us, free stuff. You know, the statistics are not on Joe's side. The student loan question, majority of Americans, very much so, are against giving away student loans. So I like how this man tries to claim it's something that we all want to do. Nancy Pelosi, of course, as we all know, famously said, Joe couldn't do this. We can't do this.
People think that the President of the United States...
where is it?
Is this more on the subject than you ever want?
Audio. Okay. There we go.
People think that the President of the United States... Is this more on the subject than you ever want to know? Will you let me know? People think that the President of the United States has the power for debt forgiveness.
We all know it.
He does not.
Right, but
he can postpone, he can delay,
866
but he does not have that power. That has to be an act of Congress.
Well, there it is. We've got one line open at 866-90-RED-EYE, 866-907-3339. Let's go to... let's see who we got here. Let's go to Robert in Charleston, South Carolina. You're on Red Eye Radio.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're
just wanted to say that with regard to the Federal Republic of Germany, you don't have to I'm a German citizen as well as a United States citizen. I lived in Germany for 20 years, and I never once pledged any allegiance to any German flag. You just don't do that in Germany. Nobody wore that on their sleeve in those days. I see German soldiers coming to visit the Citadel, and I see that they have their flag on themselves, on their clothing, on their uniforms. But in when I was there, we didn't even have that. So it's not nationalistic at all, actually. And as far as drafting,
wait, I'm sorry. What do you? I didn't reference modern day Germany. I referenced Hitler, and if you ever, you were forced to do a Heil Hitler, and you didn't want to enjoy what would have happened if you didn't salute him during Nazi Germany. So you can compel speech. The left was trying to say, compelling speech by the government is A-OK, and that makes me think about that when Nazi Germany was forcing people to pledge allegiance to the Fuhrer, and I don't want to live in a government like that. Do you?
No, but on the other hand, I know somebody who did not salute Adolf Hitler. It was Frau Jungmann in Heidelberg, and she was holding her baby in her arms when Hitler came by in his Mercedes, and it was his head out the top, and she held the baby there and didn't salute, so they were thinking about what they should do, and they decided to do nothing. Actually, her husband was one of Adolf Hitler's best friends, so they were in a quandary there, but she didn't salute Hitler. She didn't like him that much, and she
what
also
was your point?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Thank you. What was your point,
well,
sir?
My point is also that she refused to take the award. She had 7 children, and in Nazi Germany you get an award for having that many children, and she refused to take it.
Okay, that's not what this is about, though. Were you calling to talk about
Okay. Yeah, I was also calling to say about the United States. The United States Armed Forces, if you get drafted and you don't salute, I believe you'd find yourself in the brig pretty fast.
Okay, but you don't have the same laws if you're in the U.S. military. You are in military law. And this is, you and I, I'm not under military law. This lady who's making a website was being forced to do something by the state of Colorado that was against her conscience. She's not in the military.
If you get drafted, you'll find yourself in the military, though.
No, but I understand but that's not happening right now. So I'm dealing with reality. And right now there's a woman that was being forced to have compelled speech. So what is your point about her that is an actual point that is, I'm not trying to be rude, but valid? I mean, none of this is happening that you're mentioning.
Well, you could get drafted at any time that they need you. They'll find your number.
Yeah, but she was not drafted, sir. The Supreme Court case had nothing to do with somebody being drafted, sir.
Now women can I believe that they can be forced to serve too.
Sir, can I please say the same thing again for the third time, like a broken record?
Sure.
Her case has nothing to do with that. Did you have a point about her case that is valid? I don't even know what your position is. I don't even know what you're calling about. I'm not trying to be rude. I don't understand.
The case would be forcing the U.S. government forcing you to do something like, salute the flag or possibly salute your commanding officer or something like that.
No, sir. This is not military. This is a private citizen being forced. It's compelled speech.
Well, if you're a private citizen and you get drafted...
Okay, thank you for your call. I appreciate it. All right, thank you very much. Thank you for your call. I literally do not understand what the point of that... You know what I'm saying? Am I off on that, Producer Brian? I mean, it seems like I don't understand the validity of talking about if you're drafted. If you're in the military, there's different laws. I mean, it's a uniform code of justice or whatever, under the military. She's not in the military. Compelled speech we're talking about is for private citizens. That's what the court ruled about. They didn't rule about anything with the military. Okay? I appreciate your call. Let's see who we have next. We've got Ray in Cincinnati. Ray, you're on Red Eye Radio.
Hey, the UCMJ is an entirely different code for an entirely different reason.
Right.
It runs on a whole different field because of the way that military runs.
Yeah, I don't know why he was.
Goes back to part of my point.
Yeah.
He's been written. Never mind.
Yeah.
I don't want to be disparaging.
I just wanted to have him say his point. I don't know what his point was. Anyways, go ahead.
The whole point that I was calling about originally was that as a white male, I was discriminated against. But this blends in back to the UCMJ. My father was a high school dropout twice. He wound up serving with his greetings letter. He really got annoyed when he got a greetings letter, by the way, because they really did do them in 1962.
What do you mean greetings letter? I don't know what that is.
See, you're a little young man. Greetings.
Well, I'm going to hit 50 this year. 50.
Uncle Sam requests your presence at 500 Main Street on the second floor of the
draft
building.
A draft letter.
That's a greetings letter, and it says, "Greetings, Uncle Sam requests your presence."
Yes, greetings. Get your bleep to the turn yourself in tomorrow, and you're going to get drafted. You're getting drafted. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, that's your draft note.
Now I understand what it is.
The point that I know, that's what I mean. Most people don't even have a clue. This guy says, well, yeah, you can get drafted. Yes, we still had to register even as late as 1980.
Nobody's getting drafted right now,
No, we had to register, though, as a male type.
Absolutely.
Females
go ahead, sir.
Still didn't have to register.
Right.
But the point is, that was in case of, really, 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 really bad war.
Of course.
Okay? Now, you could still get out on a medical. Now, my dad was in good health. He didn't get out. He didn't have a degree, and he sure as hell showed up, and I was born in Germany. And, I mean, Elvis was in the service with him.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, I know that. Yeah. Hey, so, Ray, you had a point, though, about you said you were discriminated against as a white male firefighter or something?
My father got out. I came home from Germany. I was only there for 2.5 months. Mm-hmm. He got out. He wound up joining the Cincinnati Firehouse.
Nice.
And in order to get into the Cincinnati Firehouse, he had to pass a test, and he didn't get any extra brownie points for being a veteran. Okay? Mm-hmm. He had to turn around and take his GED to get in so that he could be a firefighter.
Right. Wow.
He had no problems because he has an E5 carrying a security clearance over in Europe. He worked with black guys, white guys, Hispanic, whatever. Everybody was everybody's equal. If you were an E5, you were not as good as an E6.
Right.
If you were
meritocracy,
#1, you had a college degree. Everybody was on a rank basis. The difference that I'm getting at is,
yes,
he got in '68, and there were black guys in the firehouse back then. By 1974, the city of Cincinnati got into a lawsuit with the feds, and they had to do a consent decree. In 1977, my father became an officer, and he had to turn around and accept people that were given extra points to get into the firehouse. Now, they didn't do it so much with females, but if you were a veteran in 1985, when I applied, you got an 8-point advantage. There is a metric that makes sense for that because it's line and staff. That's the way the things roll. You're living in a barracks 100% with other people.
Okay, yeah,
and
I see.
That's,
it's relevant.
Okay. Yes. Black people, men, got 8 points. Black female veterans, when I scored a 92, which was the cutoff score, if they scored a 76, they scored 100.
We got 15 seconds, sir. Go ahead.
The females didn't even have to do the same test. If you're going into a real bad fire,
it should all be the same.
You want somebody that's going to...
Absolutely. Yeah, and here's the deal. I don't want to die. I've said this for years. I kind of coined the little phrase. I'm not acting like I'm a genius or anything, but I don't want to die for diversity. I don't want to die for diversity. Chris Krok in for Gary and Eric.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90-RED-EYE.
Across America, it's Red Eye Radio. I'm Chris Krok in for Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. So, yeah, the whole idea of forcing anybody, having our government force you, like a business, to do something that you don't want to say or do is absolutely un-American. That's why the Supreme Court said, no, you can't force us to do things.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios. For Gary McNamara and Eric Harley, Chris Krok, this is Red Eye Radio.
Across America, it's Red Eye Radio. I'm Chris Krok in for Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. 866-90-RED-EYE is our number. That's 866-907-3339. By the way, Eric and Gary will be back next Sunday night. We'll have a best of on the 4th. Dan Mandis in Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday mornings. And the guys are back next Sunday night. Hey, we got 3 Supreme Court decisions that were huge on Friday morning and, of course, Thursday that we're talking about right now on Red Eye Radio. And one of them, we're talking about the Colorado website designer where the government tried to compel her speech. You will be forced to create a website that is celebrating a gay marriage, even though it is against your views. In fact, it was her faith as a Christian. But listen, the whole case had nothing to do with religion or faith. It was about compelled speech. And it made me think about the example where if Hitler or any Nazi would go by you or see you, you'd have to do Heil Hitler. And if you didn't want to know what would happen to you. I don't ever want to live in a country where they can make me do things or say things that I don't want to. In World War II, students were being forced to salute the flag, and that went to the Supreme Court, and they said you cannot force somebody to salute the flag that they don't want to do. Why? Because we're a free, flippin' country. And now comes the LGBTQ agenda and such to force us to. Mayor Pete pulling nothing out of his, out of his head to make some argument that it's not true. Here's what he said.
I think what's really revealing is that there's no evidence that this web designer was ever even approached by a same-sex couple looking for services to support their wedding.
Yeah, she just made up something. Dude, is that all you got? Falsely claiming that she made up a case that somehow that it went through all the courts and she was ruled against or for? I mean, that's what are you talking about, dude? You think you can make up like there's no case and you somehow end up at the Supreme Court? That's the kind of dude who would not be able to fix a pothole problem in South Bend, Indiana, and then become the transportation secretary because of who he chooses to be married to. I mean, dude, please, can you fix the transportation issue with our airports? Can you fix the issue with our trains and safety? No, you just want to tell people false information. And then Sonia Sotomayor falsely claimed in her dissent that the Pulse nightclub shooting was a result of anti-gay discrimination, when I shared with you earlier tonight that that's not true at all. Huff posted a 5.5-page story in 2018 that he never targeted gay people. He was going to shoot up Disney Springs Mall, but at the last minute, 1 hour before he shot up and killed everybody in that Pulse nightclub horrific shooting, he just Googled downtown Orlando nightclub. He had no idea. His cell phone, his wife's cell phone, never pinged that club. He never went there. He never had obviously as a radical Islamist, he did not support gays, marriage, lifestyle, but he didn't pick it because of that. In fact, when he went up there, he Googled downtown Orlando nightclub 1 hour before the massacre. He went there, and before he shot the place up, he went up and asked security guard. He was talking. He said, "Where's all the ladies?" He had no idea it was a gay bar, a gay club. He just wanted to slaughter Americans. And then when he was negotiating with the hostage negotiators, he all he did was talk about ISIS and stop killing my brothers. He had said nothing. He didn't say anything about gay this or gay that. Nothing. FBI falsely claimed it was about homosexuality and gay hatred. Orlando police investigated. FBI investigated. They even misled the judge in that case, who chastised them and said, "You misled me." Unbelievable. And there's Sonia Sotomayor falsely saying that was about gay hate. She was using that. I mean, these people, her and Mayor Pete, these people don't know they have no idea what the hell they're talking about. Isn't it scary? Holy gosh. And then the affirmative action case. You have a student, an Asian student, who has a 1590 on his SAT and a near perfect, almost exactly a perfect GPA, denied at Harvard. And it turns out, he had a 4.65 GPA. I mean, that's insane. And a 1590 out of 1600 on the SAT, and he was denied to 6 elite universities. And it turns out, if you have the same score and you're African American and you're applying to Harvard, you have a 95% chance of getting in. If you are Asian, you got a 20% chance. And they won their case. He won his case because you're discriminating against him. So why would it be okay, if it's not okay to discriminate against anybody else, why would it be okay to discriminate against Asians? What the heck? And some people are like, well, maybe that's too many Asian people to school. Well, what are you talking about? Maybe the school ends up being predominantly Asian. What do you care? Why do you have to go to Harvard? I'm being serious. Do you know how many people get accepted into schools that don't belong in schools? Can we possibly talk about the fact that maybe somebody doesn't belong at a school, one person, because they're not qualified? I'm the first one, me. I never could have gotten into one of those schools when I was younger. And I ended up going to a community college, and because my grades were not good in high school, because I was goofing off too much. But then I went into community college, and I got straight A's. And everything took off after a couple of years of that. Well, actually, I didn't get straight A's in community college. I got moderate grades. But when I went away for my last 2 years, something happened to me. I changed. A fire was lit under me. I realized I could do something with my life. The last 2 years of college, I got straight A's. graduated with a perfect A-plus score, and summa cum laude, all that stuff. And it was all about focus and wanting to do it. And so the point being is many people don't belong at schools, and when they're put in there because of the way they look, and if they're not qualified for that school, it can destroy their lives, and it could lead to dropping out, having debt, and not succeeding in life because they feel like they're a failure, and they're not. They're just like I am. They belong at a typical state school, and you can do so well. Mary Madeline, the great Mary Madeline, married to the Raging Cajun James Carville, who I'm not a fan of him, but she went to the same school I did, and she became something. Just a typical state school. You don't have to go to the Ivy Leagues. You just have to want to succeed. I was a talk show host years ago in Madison, where UW is, and these leftist students had these cutouts of people, and they were like, look at these cutouts, and they represent all the African-American people who dropped out. Why is this university failing them? Did you ever think that maybe they were put in a position that they shouldn't have been in? If you put me in that position in my first 2 years of college, I would have flunked out, man. And then what happens to them? Why don't you interview them and talk to them? You got all this debt. Do you feel like you can't succeed? Did you go to another school, or did you just drop out and say, I guess I'm not as smart as I thought I was? You could be destroying people's dreams because you're letting them in somewhere that they don't belong. Again, use me as the example. Man, when you molest or meddle with the system, you really have profound consequences for people. And it's just sad that these fools can't realize that. And then you have the student loan case. And in the student loan case, Joe Biden does $430 billion giveaway that he has no business doing that. He can't do that. He tried to pass it through Congress. Congress literally laughed him out and voted it out, and they said, get out of here, take a hike, Joe, including some Democrats. And the Supreme Court, he knew they would smack it down. He said that he couldn't do it in a CNN town hall in 2020. They did this, and Nancy Pelosi said she couldn't do this.
People think that
he couldn't do this.
People think that the President of the United States, is this more on the subject than you ever want to know? Will you let me know? People think that the President of the United States has the power for debt forgiveness. He does not. He can postpone, he can delay, but he does not have that power. That has to be an act of Congress.
As you probably know, maybe you don't, in his decision, writing in the case, Supreme Court Justice Gorsuch said, this is exactly, Nancy Pelosi was right. He used, or Roberts, I think it was, used exactly that quote from Pelosi in his decision. He literally quoted her. And yet Joe acts offended. Joe Biden and the Democrats knew this couldn't pass. They did it before they pretended they could. They did it before the midterms, knowing that they couldn't, as an issue to get people to show up and vote at the polls, and it worked. Now they're acting again as if they're shocked. Shocked, I tell you. Shocked. Oh, my gosh. Do you want to hear... And now, by the way, Joe is trying to push through another plan that you can't give away $430 billion of our money without going through Congress, said the Supreme Court. Now he's going to try to give away $471 billion, even more. Wow. Joe, you're magic. You're like a unicorn. So he's going to try to do another giveaway where he'll cap monthly payments at 5% of discretionary income, discharge any unpaid debt after 20 years, and that's not going to pass muster either. He knows it, but he's going to keep doing it and using it as an issue to get people who don't know anything about this up to the polls to get their free stuff paid for them by you and me and our hard work. Oh, my gosh, do you want to hear the student debt case in a nutshell? Are you ready for this? This is the best story ever, and everybody needs to hear this. Are you ready? This is great. New York Democrat complains about her student debt after SCOTUS ruling. Gets slammed, Fox News says, for $1 million home. This is great. A former New York State Democrat Senator Alessandra Biaggi. Hey, Alessandra Biaggi. Quote, in 2012, I graduated from Fordham Law School with $180,000 student loan debt. I've been paying loans for 11 years. Even paid 2 of them off completely. My balance in 2023 is $206. She complained. She represented New York's 34th District during her 3-year tenure in the state Senate. Here's the funny thing, though. A year ago, it was reported in Fox News, they say, that she and her husband purchased and moved into a $1.1 million home in her congressional district, which she had hoped to represent in Congress. Isn't that the best story of all? Don't you love this? Oh, look at that. I want you to pay for my student loan. My $1.1 million house isn't going to heat and cool itself. I need help paying for my HVAC bill. And you're going to help me. Isn't that great? Oh, yes.
Stop whining.
Exactly. Oh, isn't that great? Hey, do you feel like paying for her student loans as she lives in a $1.1 million house? What do you say? 866-90-RED-EYE. That's 866-907-3339. Oh, let's see here. Let's go to beautiful Myrtle Beach. Lee in Myrtle Beach. You're on Red Eye Radio. Hi, Lee.
Chris, good job filling in.
Thank you.
You mentioned Sotomayor and Buttigieg a few minutes ago, and well, they're nothing but a couple of Democrats who lie all the time. The Democrats lie constantly. This country is plagued by Democrats who lie all the time, and something needs to be done about it. I don't know what can be done about it. Probably nothing, but it's just when they can't figure out things, they make up lies, and they think that's going to be good enough. And about student loans, my sister went to Appalachian State in North Carolina, and she never complained. She never asked anybody to pay her student loan off. We had nothing. We lived in Durham, North Carolina. We had nothing. But she busted her hump, had jobs, put herself through Appalachian State, graduated Appalachian State without crying a tear to anybody. So I applaud her for that. I've told her that before. And
yeah, maybe the Democrats would say she's a sucker for working so hard and paying off when the government could have done it for her, right? She's got to vote Democrat. Appreciate your call. Matt in Maryland, you're on Red Eye Radio. Hi, Matt.
Hey, good evening. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. So, I was listening to the caller that called in from Germany who was making absolutely no sense, or was formerly a German citizen and now a United States citizen or something to that line. And that just, driving down the road, I'm going, what is this guy talking about?
Yeah, he was trying to talk about military laws with compelled speech. I'm like, dude, this is not a military case. And military is support. It's under UMCJ. UMJC.
20 years in the Marine Corps.
Right. Thank you.
But you're welcome. Yeah, no, my pleasure. Thanks for paying your taxes. So, we talk about the government. My litmus test has always been flip the script. So anybody who's in the LGBTQ, RST plus community, if you really think, and I don't call them Democrats anymore because they are absolutely socialist at minimum. Certainly, let's just label it the left because they're not the Democrats of old. They are absolutely nothing. They're so far from that. Just completely unrecognizable. We take a look at that. Now, let's say a Christian says, oh, hey, you know what?
You know what? Can I pause you? Can I pause you? I don't want to rush this. Can I pause you?
No, absolutely.
Good. Stand by, Marine. I'll be right back with you, brother. All right, it's Chris Krok on Red Eye Radio in for Gary and Eric. 866-90-RED-EYE, 866-907-3339, 866-907-3339. We'll continue with Matt in Maryland and your call next.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90-RED-EYE on Red Eye Radio.
Across America, it's Red Eye Radio. I'm Chris Krok in for Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. Let's go back to Matt in Maryland. Marine wants to talk about the Supreme Court rulings. Matt, you're back on. Go ahead, brother.
Hey, I appreciate it. Yeah, to the point, again, was the compelling of speech, the litmus test being just flip the script. It's not difficult for me to do that. I'm not a super highly educated person by any stretch of the imagination, and you don't need to be. It's simply put, all right, the LGBTQ plus community, if they really think that party is really trying to promote no, it's about control. It's always been about control. Now, flip that script. Let's say a Muslim, let's say a Jewish person, let's say a Christian, a Roman Catholic, Eastern Orthodox, I don't care what it is, was now trying to tell you, you must believe this. You must believe this or else. And you're going to feel some form of harm.
You will lose your job. You'll go to jail.
Ridiculous.
Yes.
Yes. You would lose your job. You go to jail. You must use this pronoun. And, oh, by the way, that's being inserted into schools across this country.
Right.
Now, to your point of the Nazi Party, let's say, but it doesn't end with them. But the Nazi youth is exactly what they did. To the point of, no kidding, where the daughters were the first thing they ever did was to go have children for the Fuhrer. Because they start when they were young,
right,
and they pump them full of that. They separate them from the parents. They separate them from the home. They do it in the Communist Party.
Brother, we got to roll. We got to roll, but I want to thank you for your service and thank you for your call. Happy Independence Day, a little early. Chris Krok, Across America, Red Eye Radio. I'm in for Gary and Eric on Red Eye Radio.
Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios. 1-866-907-3339. 866-90-RED-EYE. Now, for Gary McNamara and Eric Harley, Chris Krok.
Across America, it's Red Eye Radio. I'm Chris Krok in for Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. Next Sunday night, they'll be back, and best of on the 4th. Dan Mandis in for Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday mornings. So we're talking about the Supreme Court cases. You got the website designer who was being forced by the state of Colorado to either produce a website as a website designer for a gay couple about their marriage or be fined or shut down. And in that case, it's not just her, but it's also a business in New York State, even jail, threatened with even jail under New York laws. My gosh. And in not Lexington, but Louisville, Kentucky, wedding photographer, cake maker in Colorado, cake maker in Portland, Oregon, cake maker in I think the state of Washington as well. It is real. And the Supreme Court said you cannot, it wasn't even about faith, though, interestingly. It was about compelling speech. You cannot force, the government cannot force us to think, believe, or say something or act on something. Just as the Supreme Court previously had ruled in World War II that you can't force kids to salute a flag they don't want to. We are not Nazi Germany, and we don't ever want to go there. I had a doctor that called in earlier and said, if a doctor doesn't want to prescribe, contraception, I should say, the pill to prevent pregnancies, then that doctor, if he's the only one in a town or a small town, he should not be allowed to be a doctor. We should take his license away. I said, what? I said, what if he wants to move? And then, instead of that happening to him, well, that would be okay. Oh, so you, and he's a physician in Mississippi. I said, you as a physician would rather have no doctors. The motto is do no harm. You'd rather do harm to the entire city and have no doctor than one who will do everything except that. He didn't want to admit it, but the answer was yes. It's insane. The student loan giveaway, we have a Democrat who was a state senator in New York City New York State living in a $1.1 million house with her husband, complaining on social media that we should pay off her $200 loan from Fordham University, an elite university in Manhattan, her law degree. Pay my loan. I want that money to go towards paying my HVAC bill every month. I shouldn't have to pay for this. You should. Wow. You're that elite class. Telling us, a plumber, a janitor, a mechanic, to shut up and go to work and get an extra job so that you can have a free student loan in your $1 million house. To the people that clean your house, to the people that cook for you, to the people who undoubtedly manicure your green yard. Shut up and get an extra job and pay for my loan. To people that have a house that is about the size of 10% of your home, shut up and pay my loan off. How flippin' dare you? We are not socialist Cuba or China or other countries yet, where the 1% control the power and all the wealth. We are not Venezuela. Not yet. Shame on you. Joe Biden knew it was unconstitutional. That's why he said it, that he couldn't do it in 2020 when he was running for office in a CNN town hall. That's why Nancy Pelosi said he cannot do that. But that's okay. Act surprised. Have it come up when it is propose it when you know it's going to get knocked down by the Supreme Court when right before an election, midterms, and then now that he was struck down by the Supreme Court, he's going to now try, and that was a $430 billion program. Now he's going to try to do a $471 billion program for the same thing through a different route, and it's going to get smacked down again. He couldn't pass it through Congress, so he tries to push it through that way. Get out of here. And then the other case, affirmative action. You cannot have a situation where you're discriminating against Asian Americans. A 1590 score on your SAT out of 1600. A GPA that is near perfect, and yet you have a 20% chance of getting into Harvard. If you were African American instead of Asian, you would have a 95% chance. And that's okay. No, the Supreme Court said. Jamel Hill, the woke leftist sports commentator, says she accuses Asians of carrying the water for white supremacy. What? Get out of here. That's a sad way of living, to be a victim all the time and to tell people they can't do anything or make anything of themselves. It's kind of harder to say that when you have two-term President Barack Hussein Obama living in predominantly lily white communities where rich millionaires and billionaires like himself live in where is that? In Nantucket, I think, and in Hawaii, in their mansion, his mansion. Our number is 866-90-RED-EYE, 866-907-3339. Let's talk to Dan in Kansas. Oh, by the way, before I mention this, you should check me out. My show is weeknights in my station, WBAP in Dallas. We're, of course, a proud Red Eye Radio affiliate. You can go to WBAP.com. That's WBAP.com. And you should follow me on Twitter at Chris Krok Show. That's at Chris Krok Show, CHRISKROK, at Chris Krok Show on Twitter and Facebook. I see some of y'all have already started following me tonight. I say y'all, but I'm from Chicago originally. That's what living in beautiful, free Texas will do. All right, let's go to Dan in Kansas. You're on Red Eye Radio, Dan, and let's go to you right now. Hello, Dan.
Hey, Chris. How's it going tonight?
It's going well, man. Thank you. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing well. Okay, good. I'm a truck driver, but I am a resident of Colorado, and
interesting.
The thing with the gay couple wanting the lady to do their website. What would have happened if they would have just said, "Oh, you don't do that? I'm sorry. I'll go find somebody else that does."
Right.
And it never would have went to the Supreme Court.
Well, what you've seen in other cases similar to this is really sad. The professional cake baker in Colorado, who has been, unfortunately, just been attacked mercilessly there, is one of several people. Yeah. Mr. Phillips is that gentleman for refusing to bake a cake celebrating a gender transition. And also Aaron and Melissa Klein, also Oregon bakers who face fines for refusing to bake same-sex wedding cakes. Many gay and transgender couples, not all of them, because many of them are like you and me. They're like, I'm not going to go after and attack somebody. I'm going to go somewhere else. But there have been many leftist radicals who have been calling up, trying to make them and demand that they do a service for them that they know they're going to say no to. They want to destroy them, pillory them, attack them, and busy them up with wasting their time attacking them. Sad way to live.
Yes, it is. And another thing about the student loan forgiveness.
Yes.
In my opinion, old Lunch Bucket Joe, he's just searching for votes.
That's exactly right.
All these people are going to get their loans forgiven. Oh, he's a hero. I'm voting for him now.
A man who told us he would be, it's a good opinion, I think. A man who told us he was going to unite America and bring us together has just vilified anyone who voted for Trump, vilifies anybody who is a Republican, and vilifies people like you and me. It's really a sad thing that we're witnessing him do, and he's not bringing us together. He's literally attacking anyone who disagrees with him. 866-90-RED-EYE is our number, 866-907-3339. We have much more to talk to with Chris in Cincinnati and Gerardo in Detroit. Coming up next across America, it's Red Eye Radio. I'm Chris Krok, in for Gary McNamara and Eric Harley.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90-RED-EYE.
Across America, it's Red Eye Radio. I'm Chris Krok, in for Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. 866-90-RED-EYE is our number, 866-907-3339. Let's go to Gerardo in Detroit, WJR, listening to Red Eye Radio. Hi, Gerardo.
Hello, hi. To everyone listening, you know what? Well, first off, I want to just say, I am not white. I am not black. One of our nationalities is First Nation. And it just, first thing is, it's like Adolf Hitler was very successful because one thing that he did, and the Democrat Party is starting to do now, get the people to hate something, hate someone, be afraid of something, be afraid of someone. And he had manipulated, especially the youth, to believe that the problems, their personal problems, the country problems, were because of the Jews. And that was the beginning of one, the blame, and then comes the hate. But be afraid of how much more damage can they do to you and the country. So you must do something. Now, these kids today, they're being brainwashed the same way. I mean, one thing is hate their parents, hate the Bible, hate the Constitution, hate the flag, hate the country, hate everything. I see the thing was, I'm hearing with some of these kids, they have no experience, no nothing of what, but yet somebody told them, programmed them to hate. Again, being a First Nation, I mean, we are the first that could hold a grudge against the country, but this is the greatest country in the world, in the history of the world.
When you say First Nation, do you mean Native American or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
You know,
Gotcha.
It's just mean we're the first.
It's all good.
Here.
It's all good. I got you.
And you know what? Here in Michigan, they're trying to pass a law, the Democrats, of hate speech and bad thoughts. That you can get fined, thrown in jail, and again, it's.
Don't they understand that we don't want to live like that? Because if a Republican ever gets in charge, then they're going to say that you whatever you say, you can be thrown in jail. They don't. That's literally what goes around comes around, et cetera, et cetera. But it's literally like liberals used to be the champion of this. Liberals used to be against the FBI. They were for dismantling it.
They used to be the hippies. Yeah, they used to be the hippies in the 1960s.
And now they're turning into this. They call us a fascist. It's insane. It's very sad and it's very insane. And the good news is,
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, the good news is a lot of people are seeing this, and a lot of people are saying, I don't want this. You're scaring the crap out of people with this, and that's turning them to say, I want to check out these other guys because they're not telling me these horrible things, these scary things about people who I know who are not that bad at all. In fact, when you look at what people say, for example, the Supreme Court's decision on saying that this racial preferences discriminating against Asian people for another race is not okay. 52% say the Supreme Court's decision on the use of race in college admissions is the decision was right. Only 32% disapprove. There's a lot of stuff going on that the media doesn't want us to know about. There's a lot of people coming around saying, you know what, I don't like what I'm seeing, and this is not okay. People shouldn't be forced to do something. You mentioned, again, Nazi Germany, and this is amazing. I don't know if you caught this, but last week, the mayor of New York City, Mayor Eric Adams, was being held to account by one of his voters in New York, and he literally said, don't call me that or talk to me like that as if I'm on the plantation. Turns out she is a survivor of the Holocaust. God smacked him upside the head, didn't he? Across America, it's Red Eye Radio. I'm Chris Krok, in for Gary McNamara and Eric Harley.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, for Gary McNamara and Eric Harley, Chris Krok, this is Red Eye Radio.
Across America, it's Red Eye Radio. I'm Chris Krok, in for Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. 866-90-RED-EYE is our number, 866-907-3339. So we're talking about the Supreme Court's cases that they've just decided. The student loan thing, saying, Joe, no, you can't give away $430 billion of money that you tried to have Congress pass, and they said, heck no. Can't do it. Now he's going to try another thing that'll be even more expensive, $471 billion. What a joke. And it's going to get slapped down. You know, speaking of that, I also had stories about the student loan debt thing. That is, honestly, it's embarrassing. Just some of the stories I've seen in the coverage of it. You have a 50-year-old man who's a teacher, and he says that if the student loan debt story doesn't go the way he wants it to for him, which is, you know, it's not going to. It was struck down, thankfully. That he will have to stop eating fresh fruits and vegetables, and he will have to go on his ramen noodles and black bean diet, or black bean and rice, whatever. To which I said, what the heck is that? How is that my problem, dude? If you're a single man and you are living on your own and you make $50,000, you should be okay. And if you're not, then you can thank Joe Biden and the Democrats for printing all this money and causing inflation. So there's that. And then he said, no teacher in America, nobody should have to go into debt. He said, to serve their community. You don't have to. You did not have to go into debt. Nobody made you. I went to community college for the first 2 years. My son went to community college for the first 2 years and transferred in. A pro tip. We homeschool, and we literally got the dual credit. Okay, so in the community I'm in, you do not have to pay for community college if you are getting dual credit. I'm sorry. Yeah, if you're getting dual credit and you live in the county. So we had free tuition, free fees. We just had to pay for we had to pay for books, I think, and I guess fees if there were any. And he went, and you actually do all the way up till you get that 60 hours and get an associate's degree. Don't get it. Transfer in as a freshman. If you transfer in as a freshman, you get a lot more scholarships, and he did. He did well. And we're working on his last couple of years left for scholarships as well that we're hearing little by little about for his junior year. He's starting his junior year here shortly. But the point being is you don't have to go for all 4 years, and you don't have to go to an expensive big-name brand place. You can go to a typical state school like I and my siblings went to. Different ones. I went to Western Illinois. He went to Northern Illinois. He went to Southern Illinois, and then actually a UW school in Wisconsin. But the point being is none of them were Ivy League or top-notch ones. It doesn't matter. Get the flippin' degree. All three of us are doing great. Or you don't have to get a degree anymore. But if you don't get a degree, then you can pay for somebody else to go to an elite university and whine and moan. Some of these I don't know where these people come from or how they think this, but they're chanting and they're yelling. They're like Joe's professional idiots. Get them on a bus and bus them in. And I heard them chanting. I saw it on Fox News over the weekend. We're not asking for our student loan debt being paid off. We're demanding it. Wow, dude, you're in the wrong country. Go to France. Go to France or go to whatever. You ain't in the right country. Get out of here with that logic. How dare you tell a plumber, an HVAC person, a serviceman. I had some HVAC people up in my at my house to do some stuff not too long ago, like a week or two ago, and then I do my local show here at a station WBAP in Dallas, Fort Worth, and you can listen to me online at WBAP.com. And check me out on social media at Chris Krok Show. That's at Chris Krok Show, ChrisKrok. And by the way, don't ever miss any Red Eye Radio shows. The podcasts are up at RedEyeRadioshow.com. But my point being is there's recent in this heat, a postal worker died, and they don't know if it's from the heat, but his widow thinks it is. They're still waiting for all that stuff to come back, the results of everything. But I had people that were working in the heat wave recently, and they sent me pictures. I didn't ask for them, but it was so cool and spontaneous. It's what radio's all about. One guy sent me a picture of him up in the attic, and he's an HVAC guy. You can see it on my social media feed from, I think, last week. And it's 133.4 degrees up there. And he is up in that attic in 133.4 degrees in the middle of the day doing his job, and he's not complaining. I was talking about it on the radio. He took a picture of his, he got a little portable thermometer thing. They probably have it with him to keep track of stuff. Well, he's an HVAC dude. That's his job. And he sent me a picture of that. That was unbelievable. And then I had a postal worker in the heat wave. And they don't have, most of these cars do not have HVAC and air conditioning in them. And her picture of her vehicle in the shade with the doors open, both doors open, was 114. I think it was 118, actually. 114 or 118. God bless these people. And how dare these repugnant pukes, elitist pukes, these ingrates, these socialists, and don't even know it. How dare they, or they do, how dare they tell those beautiful people, a woman that's with the Postal Service and a man who's up in an attic, and none of them are, well, the postal worker lady was talking about her issues, kind of complaining, but how dare you tell them to shut up and pay for your college? How dare you, you puke? Did you put your life on, I don't mean to be rude, but I'm like, I am, I'm PO'd. Did you put your life on the line and serve our country? The Attorney General of the state of Missouri, who was one of the plaintiffs in this case on the student loan debt, he says, I put my blood, sweat, and tears. I served this country. And, by the way, it would have cost the state of Missouri $27 million if it was forgiven. There's stuff with taxes that would have been, they wouldn't have had coming in. And the state of Nebraska, the state of Nebraska would lose, I think, $27 million, and the state of Missouri would lose $44 million. Something to that effect. Anyways, it is highly offensive and angering and disgusting to me for some puke who all he does is go to a school and get massive debt because he's a fool with his money, and he signs on the documents as an adult that he doesn't want to pay, but he wants the degree, and then he's a professional whiner instead of shutting up and getting to work. And how dare you tell the people that work on my house or deliver postal workers or have the salt of the earth, wonderful, sweet people that work their butts off to shut up and get to work to pay for your education. Shame on you. Shame on you. And how dare you try to make people like me and others who have paid off our college loans pay for yours. Shame on you. You should be embarrassed. Go crab walk sideways back to your hole and shut up and pay off your debt. Do what we did. And if you put yourself in a long, expensive $200,000, $300,000 debt, that ain't my problem. That's your problem, and you should figure that out. And if you put that energy in instead of protesting and complaining and attacking people that vote our way, then you had no one to blame but yourself. Put that energy into figuring out how you can take care of this, and maybe you get an extra job. Our number is 866-90-RED. I probably don't know. You probably haven't been able to figure out my thoughts on this, have you? 866-90-RED. 866-907-3339. It's Chris Krok in for Eric and Gary across America, Red Eye Radio.
Hi, I'm Jen Loomis, a transport safety expert at J.J. Keller, and I'm here to share a tip on roadside inspections. Drivers must always be prepared for a roadside inspection. This means drivers should always have their personal, vehicle, and company credentials organized and ready, and having any shipment paperwork such as bills of lading or hazardous material shipment emergency response information organized and ready for the inspection official. Just an FYI, the top 2 violations written against drivers every year, as well as during Operation Road Check, are log, general form and manner, and log not current. Both are completely avoidable if the driver keeps the log accurate, compliant, and current at all times. Having the vehicle ready for inspection involves the driver conducting daily inspections and making sure any problems that are discovered are immediately corrected. Vehicle readiness also requires the company to make sure that the vehicle is current on all scheduled maintenance and that the maintenance schedule is adequate. This will make sure the driver is being given a sound vehicle to start with. This tip was brought to you by J.J. Keller and Associates. Visit us at jjkeller.com.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90-RED-EYE on Red Eye Radio.
Across America, it's Red Eye Radio. I'm Chris Krok for Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. 866-90-RED-EYE, 866-907-3339. Let's go to Bill in Old Bridge, New Jersey. You're on Red Eye Radio. Hi, Bill.
Hey, Chris. How you doing today?
Good. How are you?
Good. I just want to talk about college forgiveness. Mm-hmm. I worked my way through college. I worked nights, and I think I missed out on the college experience by working nights, and now they want me to repay their bills. And then I went back to school to get my master's, and I had a family. Then I had to ring for babysitters and whatnot to take care of my kids while I was in school. Mm-hmm. Now, if I could do all this, why can't they do it? And now I feel like a fool because I have to pay their bills.
Truthfully, though, you're not a fool, are you? You know that you're not a fool for what you did, are you? Do you? You know that?
No. I just feel, like, why should I pay?
Okay, but did you pay it all off yet, or are you still paying it?
No, I paid it off by semester.
Right. Well, I mean, so you do really feel like a fool.
Yeah.
I did the same thing that you did. I didn't work I worked 2 or 3 jobs sometimes, but that was just because I was working my way up in radio part-time and had to take 2 or 3 other part-time jobs and all that kind of stuff like we all do when we're younger, right, to make things work, right, and pursuing our passion and our what we feel is our calling that God gave us a meaning in our lives and a calling for. And I don't feel stupid. It took me years to pay it off, too. I don't feel stupid. I don't feel like I'm a sucker. I just feel like that's what you have to do. That's what life is like. Life is like that. And I think if you feel like a sucker or stupid for that, I think that you need to realize that what your feelings of gratitude and your feeling of you did it, an accomplishment, that's a real feeling. Your feeling of that's a real, genuine feeling that God gave you, like, I did it, and you feel good and accomplished. I don't think I feel like a sucker, because then that tells me that maybe you believe in that stuff, and maybe you do, but I wouldn't feel like a sucker. I don't know. Did you pay off your loan? Do you feel like a sucker? I don't. I don't want to live in a country where we have socialism and everything's quote-unquote free. Cuba has that. Cuba is in the 50s because that's what happens when you live like that. Cuba has, do you know what happens with refrigerators, for example? If yours is broken, you have to wait. And if yours is fine, at some point, everybody gets a new fridge, whether you need one or whether you don't. That's just literally what happens. Every blank amount of years, everybody gets a new fridge. Do you want to live like that? Or do you like being able to work hard and save up and shop and find something that's even better than the average one? I don't want to live that way, so I feel great. I appreciate your call, though. Let's go to Greg in New Jersey. Greg, you're on Red Eye Radio.
Chris, good morning.
Good morning.
As far as any reimbursements that should take place with students, it should be the schools, not the taxpayers.
That's a great point. I haven't mentioned yet. You got it. Go.
They are the recipients of all this cash, that people are paying for these courses. Some courses are very productive. Others are marginal. Those people that wanted to go to school and decided they want to become a professional student, they should get no money back. The most productive courses, no money back. The least productive courses, and the schools know it before they even teach it.
Right.
That it's not, they're not going to make salaries commensurate with
Correct.
what they're paying.
Correct.
So these people should be considered.
Wait, you want them to
Not
get
by
their
the
free stuff
taxpayer.
Yes, by the school. Hey, I don't think so either. I think the school should be forced. I like what you're saying about the schools should have to pay for it. And Joe Biden doesn't want to make the schools pay for it, even though they profit off of all of this. I had John Stossel on my show years ago, and he talked about this. Every time the government increases the amount of loans that can be borrowed, the schools turn up the amount it costs to go to their school. It's commensurate with the amount of loan. It's a joke. It's a scam. Joe Biden could simply say, if these kids are gonna owe all this money and have issues, then you help them pay. But he doesn't want to do that because about 96% or 94% of academia votes Democrat. Those are his friends. He wants all of us to pay for it, not specifically his friends. They get rich, they vote Democrat, or they get, enriched, and we don't. They like the way that works. They support that. Let's see here. We got Nick in Chicago, my birthplace. You're on Red Eye Radio.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having a live show. I really appreciate it.
You're on the great WLS, I should say. Go ahead.
Yeah, right. WLS here in Chicago. I grew up in as I call it, living history in the mid-'50s. And here in Chicago, little by little, the Democrat Party was always known, and to a certain extent it still is, like the party for working people, for unions, and all that. But the problem is, little by little, it's clear that the infiltration has occurred of people with some little tangent of a different sexual orientation. They've gotten in and developed a lot of influence. Others, like with the pipeline that was shut down on the first day that Biden came to power.
Yes.
It was only like 2 months away from being finished. He decided to cater to them, to the extremists, that he's going to shut that down and keep his promise. And a good example of that is, I tell people, these extreme elements in the Democratic Party could have been reasoned with if that, listen, let's finish this pipeline. We're not going to use it, but our enemies in the world don't know that, because there are some people who don't know that we might start pumping oil, but we won't do it. But no, he couldn't do that, you see, because some of these people in the Democratic Party now, they don't consider some of these people around the world, like in Afghanistan, the Taliban.
No, we are projecting
they don't consider them to be enemies of ours,
We are projecting insane weakness across the world. There is a thing going on Twitter tonight. You'll see the pictures of it. People in the military who are waving the pride flags and stuff. It's just, what is this? Does that portray strength or weakness? What are we doing? Chinese Communist Party, they're not afraid of this kind of stuff.
Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios. 1-866-907-3339. 866-90-RED-EYE. Now, for Gary McNamara and Eric Harley, Chris Krok.
Across America, it's Red Eye Radio. I'm Chris Krok, in for Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. 866-90-RED-EYE is our number, 866-907-3339. Talking about the Supreme Court's decisions on multiple things. Racial preferences in college, which is definitely not okay. It's unconstitutional. That was struck down, which is fantastic. We don't want that kind of a thing because you have Asian Americans being discriminated. Why would that be okay? Also talking about the government cannot have compelled speech. In this case, a woman who owns a website development company in Colorado cannot be forced to produce a website for a gay couple that wants to celebrate their upcoming wedding. I mean, they can do that with somebody, but not somebody else they have to do it with. Look, and here's what's it's funny, all morning, I should say, on Reddit Radio, I have not mentioned this yet. Little nuggets of information. The woman works with gay people all the time. If you're gay and you come to her and you want to make a website about her or his, somebody's career, hey, I want to make a website for my for jobs. I want to look good. I want my resume to be online. No problem. I'll do that. Person could be flaming gay. Doesn't matter to her. A gay person whose business, hey, I own a camera store. Can you make a business, a website for my camera store? No problem. This is really important because people totally overlook this. It is not the people that she refuses to work with. The Democrat liberals and the media lie. She is not against working with gay people. She is not denying gay people as customers. That is a lie from the liberals, from the Democrats, and from the media. They're a tech dog. She works with gay people. She has no problem working with gay people. It's the message. There are certain messages she objects to. Not people, message. That is speech. This whole case had nothing to do with religion, faith, Christianity. Although the left is like, yes, beat the heck out of Christians anytime. Islam, Judaism, never. Christianity, beat it up. It's in our platform, basically. So it wasn't the people, it was the message, and the left lies. And the other one, racial preferences, which you mentioned, and then student loan debt. Joe knew it was not okay. He said it in 2020 at a town hall with CNN. And, in fact, Nancy Pelosi did, and yet they still did it because why? They wanted to get Democrats elected in the midterms, so they put it through knowing it would get shut down, and they could use it again, which they're doing right now. Ah, you people were trying to give them free stuff. How dare you? Plumbers should go work and pay for people who are living in nice homes and, have degrees at elite institutions but don't want to pay for them. Blue-collar America, get to work. No, we're not going to give you we're not going to pay off your loan for a truck for your work vehicle for your business. No, we're not going to pay off your, whatever. Just name it. So it's really embarrassing and shameful and such. So you have that student loan debt decision. You have the racial preference decision. And you have the compelled speech decision. And the compelled speech one, it's the Supreme Court referred to. They actually, the justice in his ruling, I think it was Gorsuch, I believe, that wrote it, the opinion. And he said, he mentioned Nancy Pelosi's words. He used it in his own ruling. She was right when she said that. It was great. But I wanted to mention one thing about the racial stuff. This is very important. And then we'll take your call at 866-90-RED-EYE, 866-907-3339. Mayor Eric Adams was at some kind of a town hall or something, I don't know, a community meet-up with the whole city and such. And people are really angry about rent increases in the city. And the city regulates that. And they're angry, at least this woman is, she's angry about back-to-back rent increases. And she was, loudly speaking up at the mayor and saying, and the mayor asked her to stand up so that she could share what she wanted to share with, and said, she said, you increase the rent, you won't stop us, and we've been paying all this rent. She was pointing at him. But that's what you do if you're angry with the mayor. And then he replied and made it about race. He said, if you're going to ask a question, don't point at me and don't be disrespectful to me. I'm the mayor of this city. Treat me with the respect I deserve to be treated. I'm speaking to you as an adult. Don't stand in front like you treating someone that's on a plantation that you own. Give me the respect I deserve and engage in the conversation up here in Washington Heights. This woman was interviewed by the New York Times the next day. And boy, did God smack him upside the head on this. The New York Times on Thursday, after this happened, revealed that this housing activist named Jeannie Dubnow, who was berated by Mayor Adams racially, as you just heard, racial attack, she fled during the Holocaust to New York City with her family. She's a molecular biologist. She told reporters of her family's journey, Fox News says, fleeing Nazi Germany just before she was born, and accused Adams of deflecting from her question because he did not have an answer. It was a complete deflection from what I was saying because he has no answer. She says she wasn't being disrespectful. She had to shout her question because there was no microphone at the event. It was a massively crowded event with like 10 or 15 officials up on the stage. And this it was like a wedding, wedding banquet with like all these people left and right all the way down and up, okay? She said, I didn't have a microphone. I had to speak loudly so that everyone could hear what I was saying. But you berate an older woman who was survived the Holocaust with her family. How dare you playing that game with her? All right, let's go to Sam in Detroit, WJR. You are on Red Eye Radio. Hi, Sam.
Good morning to you.
Good morning.
I just want to weigh in on about the LGBTQ thing here.
Mm-hmm.
Whitmer, the governor here.
Yes.
We're passing a law over here, and it's going to be a felony if you even make any one of them in the community feel threatened. Not if you say something, but if they feel threatened by anything you do, it's going to be a felony, and that sounds far-fetched to me, and I don't know. I can't even understand that, but it's not being.
Maybe we can start by locking up pastors. Make an example of them, flog them, and bring them in like in the middle of their sermon. You could run up and take them down, tackle them, tase them, put them in cuffs, let the whole church know you can't support what God says and what the Bible says. Take them downtown, right? Rough them up, make an example.
Yeah.
Have the news come out like they did with CNN and the raid on Roger Stone, and have the news there waiting to show the pastor getting tackled, and so send the message clear, right?
Yeah, well, this is going to be a message clear for sure. I mean, the first person that does anything or is accused of anything is going to be the example right there, and it's going to be broadcasted.
I think that somebody is going to, in what you're saying, if all that is accurate, I think somebody is going to feel free to. I mean, this is obviously I was joking. It's absurd. It's pathetic. And I think people are way overboard with saying they're sensitive and they're this or that, and they're just going to say, well, you offend me if I read Scripture about what Jesus said, marriage between a man and a woman. God created man, God created woman, that kind of stuff. You can just read Scripture and they're going to lock you up. It's pathetic, and I would think somebody would be ready to just do something normal and take it into custody, and would be happy to ask the Alliance Defending Freedom to defend them, or many other fine not-for-profit institutions that would defend our faith and take care of this in the courts, because that's pathetic and that's embarrassing. I don't know why. I don't know what's wrong with the state of Michigan. I don't know what's wrong with my former state of Illinois that I was born and raised in. I don't know what is going on, and it's very sad, and I don't know why anybody would want to see somebody taken to jail for thought crimes. Very sad. Thankfully, Joe Biden will be there to, get people angry and say how bad and evil folks like you and me are, huh? And then say he's uniting Americans. 866-90-RED-EYE is our number, 866-907-3339. Across America, it's Red Eye Radio. I'm Chris Krok, in for Gary McNamara and Eric Harley.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90-RED-EYE.
Craziness going on with everything. Thank God we got a high court that's got its head screwed on properly. Meantime, crazy stuff going on in Baltimore, in a state that has some of the most strongest gun regulations in the world, and yet 28 people shot and as many as 4 people dead as of last report. Paris has the streets burning. And Trump warned us about the situation that's going on in Paris for our future. Across America, it's Red Eye Radio. I'm Chris Krok, in for Gary McNamara and Eric Harley.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.